Welcome to Hidden Reality. Imagine stepping onto a beach where the modern world simply doesn't exist. No internet, no governments, no memory of the outside world. That's exactly what happened in 2018 when a lone traveler approached a forbidden shore, only to be met with a lethal barrage of arrows. Today, we're diving into the mystery of North Sentinel Island. It's a tiny 60 square kilometer patch of dense forest in the Indian Ocean, home to what is widely believed to be the world's very last uncontacted tribe. They know practically nothing about us, and honestly, we know very little about them. But whenever our two worlds collide, the results are almost always devastating. Let's unpack this incredible explainer. In November 2018, a 26-year-old American missionary named John Allen Chau decided he was going to make contact. He was absolutely obsessed with bringing Christianity to the island. So, under the cover of darkness, on November 14th, he bribed a local fisherman 25,000 rupees to sneak him past the Coast Guard. The next morning, he paddled out alone in a kayak. He brought gifts, things like dried fish, scissors, a football, and his Bible. As he approached, he shouted out, "My name is John, I love you, and Jesus loves you." The tribe's response? They instantly drew their bows. In a truly terrifying moment, a young boy fired an arrow that, by pure miracle, hit the very Bible Chau was holding. John fled for his life. But tragically, he forced himself to return the very next day. He never came back. Local fishermen later watched him horror from a distance as the tribe buried his body right there on the beach. What's really chilling is reading Chau's own diary entry from the night before his death. It perfectly captures the terrifying reality of what he was facing. He wrote, "Lord, is this island Satan's last stronghold? I don't want to die." It's a haunting look into the mindset of a modern outsider colliding head-on with a society that fundamentally and violently wants to be left alone. Part 1. Origins of the Sentinelese. To truly understand why they reacted with such lethal force, we have to rewind the clock, way back. We're talking 70,000 years. That massive number represents the estimated time since the out-of-Africa human migration. When the first modern humans left Africa, they slowly migrated through Yemen, the Indian subcontinent, and eventually across Southeast Asia. The people currently living on North Sentinel Island, they are believed to be the direct descendants of those very first migrants. While the rest of humanity mixed, mingled, and built empires over thousands of years, the ancestors of the Sentinelese settled on this remote island and just stayed. This comparison is just mind-blowing. While the outside world was busy discovering agriculture roughly 12,000 years ago, the Sentinelese remained completely cut off for anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000 years. They literally missed the entire agricultural revolution. They are, for all intents and purposes, the world's last Stone Age tribe. They don't farm at all. Instead, they survive purely as hunter-gatherers, foraging for fruits, hunting wild boar, and fishing in the shallows. Part 2. A history of hostility. Now, you might be wondering, are they just aggressively isolated for no reason? Absolutely not. For them, the ocean horizon has historically brought nothing but disaster. Just look at this timeline. In 1867, an Indian merchant ship carrying 100 passengers crashed onto their reef. The survivors were immediately attacked and only barely escaped with the help of the British Royal Navy. But it was the next major encounter that likely changed their trajectory forever. Let's look closely at this staggering event from 1880. A British officer named Maurice Vidal Portman decided he wanted to establish contact and civilize the tribe. So he landed on the island and literally kidnapped an elderly couple and 4 children, dragging them back to the capital, Port Blair. Because the Sentinelese had been isolated for tens of thousands of years, their immune systems were utterly defenseless against our diseases. The elderly couple rapidly and tragically died. Realizing he'd made a massive mistake, Portman sent the 4 children back to the island with some gifts. But think about the biological nightmare that must have caused. Those children almost certainly carried foreign pathogens back to their people, likely triggering a devastating plague across the island. It completely makes sense why they now treat any outsider as a deadly threat. Fast forward a century and their isolation was broken again, but this time it gave them a massive technological leap. In 1981, a merchant ship named the Primrose was stranded on the island's reef during a heavy storm. The crew had to be rescued by helicopter as the tribe prepared to attack, but the ship itself stayed behind. You can actually still see the rusting hole on Google Maps today. The tribe scavenged the wreck, introducing iron into their society for the very first time. They quickly evolved from using traditional wooden spears to crafting deadly iron-tipped arrows. Before we go any further, we need to debunk a massive historical myth. For centuries, Ancient Roman mathematicians, Chinese travelers, and Arab historians labeled this entire archipelago as the Islands of Cannibals. I want to be perfectly clear here. Based on all modern anthropological evidence, there is absolutely zero truth to the idea that the Sentinelese eat humans. That was just an ancient rumor born out of a deep fear of the unknown.
Part 3. The brief, friendly contact.
Remarkably, amidst all this historical violence, there was a tiny, fleeting window of peace. In 1991, an unarmed expedition led by an incredible Indian anthropologist named Madhumala Chattopadhyay approached the island. They didn't bring weapons, they brought coconuts. And shockingly, the tribe accepted them. During one tense encounter, a Sentinelese man raised his bow, fully ready to kill. But then, an amazing moment of restraint happened. A Sentinelese woman stepped right forward, pushed his arrow down, and gestured for peace. The man buried his weapon in the sand. It was the first ever peaceful exchange of coconuts by hand. It happened once more a month later, but sadly, that would be the absolute last time the tribe ever showed friendliness to our world.
We still don't know exactly why that brief window of friendliness closed, but by 1997, the arrows were flying once again. This forced the Indian government to completely shift its approach, enacting a strict, eyes-on, hands-off policy. They monitor the island from a distance to make sure the tribe is safe, but they have legally banned all travel within a 5-kilometer radius. It's a mandatory buffer zone designed to protect the tribe from our diseases and to protect us from their arrows.
And as we can see here, the tribe has fiercely defended those borders ever since. In 2004, after the catastrophic Indian Ocean tsunami, a government helicopter flew over just to see if the tribe had even survived. The tribe's response? They stormed the beach and showered the helicopter with arrows, which, ironically, was the exact proof the government needed that they were alive and well. Then in 2006, 2 fishermen accidentally drifted too close while sleeping and were killed, and of course the tragic death of John Allen Chau in 2018. To them, any approaching vessel is an immediate act of war.
Part 4. Life on the island. Despite all this hostility, what we do know about their daily lives is absolutely fascinating. Pieced together from distant observations and Shaw's diary, we estimate their population is somewhere between 50 and 500 people. We can't know for sure because a real census is impossible. We know they are a remarkably healthy, muscular people standing around 5'3" to 5'5" and completely untouched by modern issues like obesity. They handcraft highly specialized, narrow wooden canoes that are less than 2 feet wide for shallow water fishing. They don't cremate their dead, they bury them beneath the beach sand, and their language is entirely their own, filled with high-pitched sounds like ba, pa, la, and sa. Even indigenous tribes on neighboring islands just a few dozen miles away cannot understand a single syllable of Sentinelese. What's truly thought-provoking is how their reality challenges ours. While our global society constantly wrestles with overpopulation, massive pollution, and burning through resources, the Sentinelese live in perfect harmony with their environment. Think about it. They have successfully sustained their entire population on a tiny 60-square-kilometer island for thousands of years. They haven't hunted their animals into extinction. They haven't destroyed their ancient forest. They are living proof that humans can exist sustainably without totally overpowering nature.
Part 5. The Ethics of Isolation.
This incredible survival story brings us to a massive modern ethical debate, splitting anthropologists right down the middle. On one side, you have people arguing for integration. They say we have a moral duty to share modern medicine, internet, technology, and human connection with them. But the risk there is total destruction. One sneeze, one common cold, could literally wipe out their entire civilization in a matter of weeks. On the flip side, proponents of isolation argue that we absolutely must respect their sovereignty. They have a proven, sustainable lifestyle, so just leave them alone. But the counterargument is that leaving them isolated leaves them completely vulnerable to a massive natural disaster without any outside aid.
And the terrifying thing is, we don't even have to guess what happens when tribes like this integrate. We have a dark case study right next door. The Jaroa tribe, located in the same island chain, was integrated in the 1970s. The results were devastating. They immediately struggled to digest our packaged food. They suffered from sudden modern obesity because they stopped hunting, and with zero cultural context for modern vices, they rapidly fell into severe addiction to alcohol and tobacco. Forcing integration essentially destroyed their traditional way of life.
If you need one final, sobering piece of evidence about the dangers of contact, just look at this number, 41. That is literally all that remains of the great Andamanese tribe. When British colonizers first showed up in the 1800s, this tribe had a thriving, vibrant population of around 5,000 people. Today, thanks to foreign diseases, violent colonization, and cultural erasure, there are only 41 individuals left. History shows us that for these deeply isolated groups, contact almost always equals extinction. So, as we witness the sheer stubborn resilience of the North Sentinelese, I want to leave you with a profound question. We obviously have the technology to reach them. We could easily overpower them and force our modern world onto theirs. But does true humanity mean forcing that connection? Or does it mean having the ultimate restraint to just leave them completely alone? If you enjoy uncovering hidden truths, subscribe to Hidden Reality and join us for more extraordinary stories. Subscribe to Hidden Reality for more incredible true stories and hidden realities from around the world.